So, picture this. Have you ever spent a whole entire day in bed doing absolutely zero physical work, but somehow you end up feeling completely exhausted, totally lazy, and honestly a little guilty by the time night rolls around? You probably told yourself, hey, I'm taking a rest day today. But as the sun goes down, you actually feel way worse than when you woke up. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack exactly why that happens.
It's a pretty bizarre paradox, right? I mean, you didn't run a marathon, you didn't go to the gym, you certainly didn't work a demanding 10-hour shift, you didn't do a single physically difficult thing all day. Literally all you did was lay there, scroll through your phone, watch some videos, maybe reply to a couple of texts, and yet you feel completely and utterly drained. And you know, this leads so many of us to falsely believe that we just lack discipline. We sit there thinking, man, maybe I'm just weak. Maybe everyone else just has a better handle on life than I do.
Well, let me stop you right there, because the absolutely crucial point here is this: you are not lazy. I really want you to internalize that relieving truth right now and just let go of that guilt. You aren't weak. You are simply experiencing a very modern trap. It's a scenario where, sure, your body might be perfectly still, but your brain, it never actually got a single second to rest.
All right, let's dive right into part one, the myth of modern rest. Physical stillness versus a mental marathon.
See, most people mistakenly think rest just means being physically still. But lying down and staring at a screen leads us straight into this devastating, invisible trap called passive consumption. Basically, this is the act of lying physically still while feeding your brain non-stop stimulation. So while your body is chilling doing nothing, your mind is basically lacing up its running shoes and sprinting a grueling marathon. It's processing hundreds of notifications, rapid-fire videos, conflicting opinions, and endless micro-choices. You're physically resting, sure, but mentally, you are completely overloaded.
To really wrap our heads around this, we kind of have to look at the past. Back in the day, when people rested, they actually, rested. They gave their minds completely empty space. They sat outside, took a slow walk, or maybe just looked up at the sky. But contrast that with how we live today. We have this intense compulsion to fill every single empty second. We feel silence with music and podcasts. We feel boredom with scrolling. We feel loneliness with an absolute avalanche of digital content. We never just exist. We never just be.
Which brings us to section 2, the toll of emotional switching. This is basically a 60-second neurological marathon.
Your brain doesn't just get tired from, say, doing complex math or studying for a massive exam. It gets incredibly exhausted from rapid emotional switching. Just think about a typical 60-second scrolling session. In literally 1 minute, your brain is violently thrown through an entire spectrum of intense human emotions. 1 second, you're laughing out loud at a funny dog video. A flick of your thumb later, bam, you're hit with tragic global news, triggering major anxiety. Swipe again, and you're staring at some billionaire's luxury lifestyle, which triggers envy or inadequacy. Swipe one more time, and you're deep into bitter internet arguments, triggering anger. You are jumping from comedy to tragedy to jealousy to rage in mere seconds. The human brain was simply not designed to handle that level of emotional whiplash.
And because of this intense emotional whiplash, your brain naturally starts to just shut down to protect itself. It's exactly like a computer throwing up an error message because you've got way too many heavy applications running all at once. You start experiencing these exact symptoms. You lose focus and motivation. You feel physically lazy and heavy. Suddenly, incredibly small tasks, I'm talking taking out the trash or making a quick phone call, feel completely impossible, and you're just left with this lingering sense of numbness and guilt. I really want you to let this neurological reality sink in. A full mind cannot create, a full mind cannot focus, a full mind cannot feel peace. This is the absolute core truth we all have to accept. When you feel that heavy, crushing exhaustion, it is not because you're a useless person. It's because your mind is completely full. There is simply no room left in there for creation, focus, or peace. Let's move on to part 3, the comfort and distraction loop, how energy fades quietly.
So, how exactly does this become our permanent state of being? Well, it happens when unlimited comfort and unlimited distraction mix together. And it builds from the very moment you open your eyes. We call this the morning trap. Think about it. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, heck, sometimes before you've even opened both eyes, you reach for that glowing rectangle. You check your phone. Immediately, before your brain has even fully booted up for the day, you begin comparing, reacting, and worrying about what everyone else is doing. And this leaves a tiny, almost imperceptible pressure of background stress in your head that lingers for the entire rest of the day.
Carrying around that background stress eventually throws you into a vicious exhaustion loop. It starts when you feel heavy and tired. So to escape that gross feeling, you passively consume comforting content. But here's the kicker, that very stimulation tires your brain out even more, which causes your willpower to plummet, which then makes you consume even more content. It is a perfect, tragic circle, demonstrating exactly how modern rest has quite literally become modern exhaustion.
All right, section 4, fake rest versus real rest, reclaiming your energy.
The good news is, you're not doomed to stay in this loop forever. Let's talk about how you can actually reclaim your energy by understanding the stark difference between fake rest and real rest. Notice the huge contrast in the aftermath here. Fake rest, like passive scrolling, feels incredibly easy and low friction in the moment. It's the path of least resistance, but it leaves you feeling numb, heavy, and super guilty afterward. Real rest, on the other hand, actually reintroduces space into your life. Walking outside, getting real sleep, sitting quietly without a device, or even doing a simple physical task like cleaning your room. Real rest leaves you feeling lighter, clearer, and truly refreshed.
So how do we actually transition over to real rest? Well, here are 3 highly actionable steps to kick off a brain detox today. First, commit to just 10 minutes of daily silence. No input, no scrolling, no music, just sit. Now at first, you might feel bored or honestly even a bit anxious, but don't panic. That anxiety is actually just a sign of your brain detoxing from all that constant overstimulation. Second, delay your morning phone use. Before you plunge into the digital world, do something in the physical world. Drink a big glass of water, wash your face, write down just one task for the day. Basically, check in with yourself before you check in with the whole world. And third, actively replace that passive consumption with slow, real-world tasks.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this one simple rule. Lying physically still is not rest if it's just another way to avoid your life while your brain drowns in digital noise. We have got to stop equating a still body with a resting mind. I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. Your brain doesn't need more content, it needs space. Listen, your exhaustion is incredibly valid. You don't need a completely new life, and you certainly don't need to be harder on yourself. You just need fewer inputs. You just need to give your mind permission to experience silence again. So the very next time you feel completely drained on a Sunday afternoon, ask yourself, are you actually resting, or are you just running a marathon in your mind? Because tiredness is really only the first trap we face in the modern world. Understanding dopamine is the real key to uncovering why your brain keeps choosing easy, instant pleasure over the life you actually want to build. So make sure you stick around, because in our next explainer, we are going to be breaking down the dopamine trap that nobody talks about. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.